Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today on how Microsoft Teams can help you as COVID-19 changes the way we do business. My name is James Meyer, and for those of you that don't know me, I'm a partner at Costerisan in our Business Solutions and Technology Group. Before we begin today, we do want to first and foremost say that we hope that all of you are safe and healthy. If there's anything we can do for you or your organizations as we all try to navigate through these times, please don't hesitate to give us a call. We want to help. And the idea for this webinar actually came from that. It was driven by our desire to help all of our clients. So early last week, we were brainstorming, trying to think, how can we add some value, during these times? And one of the ideas that came up was the idea of maybe sharing our experiences working with Microsoft Teams. That we've been using Teams for quite a while, but Teams, what we found is in the last few weeks, for our whole organization, it's been an invaluable tool for, with everybody working remotely, working from home. It's just been a fantastic tool to help us in continuing to operate and run the business. And so we wanted to share that with you because we think it can also be an invaluable tool for you. Now, this is an overview of Teams. Our goal today is to introduce Teams and give you a good understanding of how it's going to work. We are going to do a demo, and I mentioned Dave Feenstra. Oh, I forgot to mention that. With me today also is Dave Feenstra and Ryan Carter. And Dave's going to basically host a demo of Teams. Ryan's going to help too, and we're going to show you how we can use Teams to actually collaborate. So that'll be a little later in the presentation. But again, this presentation today is designed to introduce you to Teams. So if you're not familiar with it or if you're just starting to use it, I think this is going to be a huge help and benefit. Now, if you're already using Teams and you're looking for something that's going to give you some really some detailed tips and tricks, we're not going to really cover that today. So this may not be the webinar for you. We do hope maybe in the next couple of weeks to do a more detailed dive into Teams. But for today, we're going to be focusing on an overview. I want to start. Let's talk about Microsoft Teams and what Teams is. And so even before this virus thing hit, in this pandemic, Teams is the fastest growing business application in Microsoft history. Just to give you an idea how fast it's growing, and these stats that you're looking at here are actually from a few months ago. And so at the beginning of the year, there were about 20 million users using Teams. To give you an idea of the impact of the virus, there are now over 45 million users using Teams today. So in just 2 to 3 months, the number of users has more than doubled, and it's growing every day. And the reason for that is because Teams is just such a great tool for times like this. It was made to order for the kind of environment we've got today. For quite a while, there's been this trend toward Teamworks and starting to work virtually. And part of that started with the fact that we've now got 5 generations of people working in the workforce. And these generations have different ways they want to communicate, but there's more and more the need to collaborate, right? So you're seeing more Teams-based work, you're seeing more collaboration. And this has resulted in a changing landscape. And again, these stats that you're seeing here are from a few months ago. So if even a few months ago, Microsoft was predicting that 72% of workers will be working remotely in 2020. This is before the virus. Well, we now know today it's probably like 95, 96, maybe even higher percent of workers are working remotely right now because of the shelter-in-place instructions. Microsoft also was saying that 56% of meetings have at least one remote. We're going to have at least one remote attendee. Well, I would say right now that's probably 100% of people have at least one remote attendee, or at least 99. These trends have started, but with COVID-19, it's just exploded, right? The big one, though, that I want to emphasize here is the video piece of this, because even us internally here, when we were doing presentations in the past, we weren't using video because a lot of people kind of shy away from using video. Just look at me right now. In the background, I've got posters. I thought about taking those. I'm working at home, and I thought about taking those posters down. I said, no, this is my environment. This is where I work, and I like having those posters, so I left them up here. But you'll see later when we get into Teams, there's ways we can maybe hide those if we don't want to show them to people. So you can work more comfortably from your home or work remotely and not worry about it no matter where you're at. You'll see how that works when we get into this. And actually, I got a couple slides on that. But the main thing I want to emphasize here is use the video, because as we're all working, we no longer can see each other face to face. It's really important just to be engaged. It just helps so much. And it's funny, once you start doing it, it just becomes a no big deal. Let's just use video. All right. So what can Teams do for you, Microsoft Teams? There's about 4 or 5 things where Teams really adds a lot of benefits. So what I want to do is I want to kind of walk through that and talk about that. And then I'm going to go ahead, like I say, and we'll turn this over to Dave and we'll show you some live what we're talking about. So the first thing that Teams does is Teams can help you do remote meetings. All right. I mean, there's lots of other tools that can do that too. You've got Zoom, you've got GoToMeeting, you've got all these other tools. But Teams has some features in it that these other tools don't have that you can benefit from in meetings. I mean, I can do whiteboards, I can share videos, I can do notes and chats. This thing will actually record your discussions as you're going through. If you want, you can turn on in Teams the ability to record your instructions, where it'll take your words, translate those into basically a document of written words, and then you can later on search on it if you want to if you're trying to find something from that meeting and you just want to drill into it. Pretty cool technologies when you think about it. And you can access this and you can run this from any device. So Teams works with anything, whether it's mobile, whether it's your desktop, as long as I've got a browser, I can get in and I can get to my Teams. And I don't have to be sitting at my desk on that. So I mentioned earlier you can hide the background, and this slide here is an example of what we're talking about. Essentially, you got the ability to blur the background. So you'll see later when we do the demo that I can go in and I can blur, and you won't be able to see those posters that we have behind me, at least not clearly as we do that. So, but Microsoft is building all kinds of really neat functionality into this to help make it easier for people to work remotely. So meetings is one thing, being able to do virtual meetings. The other thing I can do, I don't actually have to set up a meeting though. I can use Teams just to do chats. And it's like instant messaging. And a chat can be one-on-one or it can be a group chat. So if I just have a quick question for somebody on my team, I can go ahead and just quickly send them a note or ping them and say, hey, are you available? Can we do a quick chat? And we can do a chat online and quickly get an answer without having to do emails, without having to do a phone, without having to do any of that. And I can have chats with multiple people. So we could easily bring in 1 or 2 other people into the chat and then I'll discuss. And again, we're going to show you how that works a little bit later in this presentation. All right, so I can do virtual meetings with video if I want to. I can just do a chat if I want to. I can even use Teams to do calling. Now, this is the feature that's really not used very much, because if I can do a chat or I can do a virtual meeting through Teams, I don't really need to call people, but you can actually use Teams as almost like your telephone and just call people through Teams. You could get rid of your phone system if you wanted to do that and just use Microsoft. But so that's another feature of Teams. This next feature is the one that I think is the most valuable. This is the one that really we've found is the most valuable, is the fact that in addition to being able to have these remote meetings, we can share documents and we can store documents that we can all access. And this has just been huge for us. You can actually collaborate on documents, because this is all integrated. So I didn't mention it earlier, but this is part of Microsoft Office 365. So it's tied into PowerPoint, it's tied into Office or Word, it's tied into Excel. So if I wanted to collaborate on a PowerPoint presentation, or I wanted to collaborate on a Word document, maybe it's a contract, we can get multiple people, pull that contract up, and we can all be editing it at the same time, and we can see each other's edits as we do that. Again, you have to see it in real life, so we'll show you that in the demo, and you can see how that can work. But that's a huge advantage. And then being able to store documents is a huge advantage. So like we use it internally here in the tech department. We use it so you know, in our sales, when we have a sales and we're talking to prospects, we can store all our sales documents. We can store the contracts, the estimates. On the implementation side, we can store all the information related to the implementation, and the implementation team can share that information. We can even share it with the clients, because you can share, Teams lets you share with people outside your organization if you want to do that. And actually, you can invite them in for discussions if you want to do that, even though they're not part of your internal organization. So you have a lot of really, really great functionality to help you collaborate, both within and with people outside your organization. This is where the biggest value is. And again, we'll show that in a little bit. And then kind of a final thing that I wanted to mention. Again, this is one of those features that's not used a lot, used very much, but you do have the ability to set up tasks for people, and you can also manage shifts. And the shifts is kind of interesting. So if you've got, if you're a restaurant or a retail organization or someplace that has shifts and you don't have a good tool for managing that, Teams actually has some really nice functionality that you could use. So I just want to make sure you were aware of that, right? Again, this is part of Microsoft. One thing Microsoft does with all of their tools, whether in Office 365, is they give you the ability also to customize and extend these. So you can extend these tools with Teams and do a lot with it. You can even use the Microsoft Power Platform with this. So if you're familiar at all with their Power Apps, where I can create apps on my phone to access information that we have internally, or if you're familiar with their Power Automate, or what used to be called Flow, which lets you set up workflow, you can use Teams within that, or vice versa, so you can extend Teams. So you can take Teams to a whole new level, but even just the standard out-of-the-box functionality is just huge in terms of what you can benefit from. And then finally, the other thing I want to mention is Microsoft has put a ton of effort into trying to make sure that Teams is secure, right? As they've done with all their applications. So they put a lot of energy into this. The bottom line is, feel very confident that your information that you're sharing on here is secure, and people outside of your groups and teams that you set up. Because the other thing you can do with Teams, and Dave will show you this, is I can set up multiple teams, and people can be parts of multiple different groups, different teams. And then within each of those, they have what they call channels, where you can set up channels and you can share docs within those channels. So we have a channel for sales, we have a channel for for implementation and services, etc. So Teams lets you just like you can organize or you can operate within, if you're all in the same building, and I can have different conference rooms. With Teams, I can set up different conference rooms or channels. And we can reserve things, we can share things, we can do a lot of really neat stuff, as you'll see. But I can do all that in confidence. I don't have to worry about people outside my organization seeing it unless I want them to see things. And as we mentioned earlier, you can run this from any device, and that's really invaluable. I mean, I'm working at home from my office upstairs, but if I'm downstairs and I've got my phone with me and somebody pings me, I get a chat notice or I get a Teams notice, I can pull it up right up on my phone. And we can start communicating right away. I don't have to be sitting at my desktop. Okay, this slide has a couple quotes, which I think are interesting, but I'm not, we're not going to spend time reading through these, but you will get copies of this, so if you want to look at them later, you can. Thing here, though, before I turn this over to Dave, is I want to make sure you're aware. If you've got Office 365, there's a good chance, depending on what licenses you already have Teams. If you don't have Teams, though, Microsoft, in recognition of what's going on in the world today, has offered basically anybody can get Teams for 6 months on a trial basis at no charge. So if you don't have it, we can help you get it and get you set up so that you can run it for 6 months and use it. And then if you want to continue to use it, you can, but you would have to pay at that point. But it's very recently priced, and Ryan can talk about pricing at the end if anybody's interested in that. And so this slide here has some context. If you want to, at the end of this webinar, you want more information, you can contact Ryan or Joe. So with that, I want to thank everybody for a chance to talk. And now I'm going to go ahead, and Christine's going to give control over to Dave, and Dave's going to show you Teams. Dave and Ryan will show you Teams. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, James. That was a lot of good information. All right, so as James mentioned, Teams has a lot of capabilities that we, especially since the technology department at Manor has been pretty spread out all over the state of Michigan for a while, that Teams has a lot of functionality that has really helped us stay connected as a team and really operate seamlessly. And given the current environment that's out there, we're finding more and more of our clients are also working remote and needing to stay connected. And so that's where Teams can really help out, because Teams really is a 4-in-1 application. It can be your messaging application. Anybody who's used instant messenger or even text messages or anything in the past knows about messaging apps and how they can just be quick and easy. It can be, you can use it for online meetings. There's a lot of tools out there, like James mentioned. There's GoToMeeting, there's Zoom and everything. But the nice thing with Teams is you can actually have your team. You can just have an impromptu video chat. You can have just a non-video call in case somebody is sitting at home in their pajamas and don't want to be seen. They can do that as well. It allows you to call. James mentioned that as well, that if you were just going to use it for straight calling, you can do that. One of the most powerful features that we have found, though, is as a tool is for document collaboration. And that's where we can have documents, as James mentioned. We can have documents up there, and we can all be editing it at the same time. Anybody who's ever tried that on like a home network or at your work network, you always get a message that so-and-so has this document open, notify you when it's not locked anymore. And in this case, it's never locked. You open it up and you can see who's editing it, and you can see all the changes that are being made real time. So it's very powerful in that sense. So with that, I just wanted to give a quick overview of how we in the technology department are using Teams. And real quick, I think I skipped over an introduction. I'm Dave Feenstra. I am a partner at Maynard Costerisan, and as well as the director of our Business Solutions and Technology Group. It has been an invaluable tool for me for just keeping in touch with everyone as we've become even more spread out than we were already. Also on the line with us is Ryan Carter. He is one of our systems engineers, and we'll be talking a little bit at the end about licensing, if there's any questions about licensing and costs and everything that comes up. So with that, let's just do a quick walkthrough of how we are using Teams, and just a quick walkthrough of the navigation that's within Teams. When you open Teams, the first thing you're going to get is just it's a relatively simple interface, but you're going to have a series of icons across the left side. And the top one is just going to be your activity. And activity is going to show you everything that has happened recently. Any chats you might have had, any calls you might have had, and you can click on those and just kind of see overall what has been going on or what you have done in the past. It's a quick way to find if you're looking for a recent chat that you had, a quick way to see everything that you've been doing. The next option is the actual chat box itself. And it's in here that you can initiate any of the, just a simple chat message. I know Ryan is on here, and so I'm just going to do a quick chat to Ryan. Hello, Ryan. And I know he's on, and hopefully he will respond back to me. You can see the little icon turns into an eye, so I know that he's seen it, so you can't hide from me. And then it tells me that he is typing back, and there he is. So chat message, the chat functions within Teams is very powerful. Like I'm sure a lot of people today, I get a ton of emails every day, and it is very easy to get lost in just an endless email thread. People responding back and forth, sending documents back and forth. You never know who's got the most current version. So chat lets you just do those things in a quick, impromptu environment, or if there was something that you really wanted to save, if I wanted to make a note that I said hello to Ryan, I could always save that message. Now it is tagged so that if I ever did go in here and just wanted to see my saved messages, I'd be able to see that that one, for some reason, I have decided I wanted to tag that and save it. And you can see I have a couple other saved messages here as well. And that way it's easy to keep track of a chat and not get it lost in all the clutter of other chats that are out there. And I can just click on the chat and go back to everything. Following chat is the actual Teams icon, which is kind of the root of the entire Teams application. And as James mentioned, you can have a number of teams. And here at Maynard, we have teams for each one of our ERP teams. We have for technology. We have sales and marketing, all those teams set up, and they all have different owners, different members, depending on who necessarily needs to be in there. And it's within those teams that we can make various channels. And think of a channel as a sub-team where, you know, the Maynard technology team has everybody, but maybe I only need a few people on a specific channel because of a project that's going on, or a task that we're doing, or a specific product that they have expertise in. So you can set up as many different channels as you want. One thing to keep in mind is when you are setting up your infrastructure, that you come up with a naming convention so that not everybody is just making random teams, random channels, because then it just gets hard to manage and things get kind of cluttered. We're going to come back to Teams in just a little bit. I want to look through the rest of what our menu options are here. Under Teams, we have Calendar. And because this is a fully integrated application with Office 365, what we're looking at here is actually my live calendar. And so at any point, I can just come in here, and I'm just going to click, and I'm going to have a new meeting. So I'm going to have a Teams discussion. And my required attendees are going to be James Meyer and Ryan Carter, because I know that they're listening. So then I'm going to say that this is going to be a very important Teams discussion. And as soon as I hit send, it not only has scheduled it on my calendar within Teams, but within Outlook itself, I actually have a new item that has shown up in my calendar within Outlook. And we'll open that up. And so this is actually what appeared on my Outlook calendar. So you can see at this point, at noon, all I have to do is start the Teams meeting. Everybody who has been invited to it will be in there, and we'll have a chat going automatically. So very powerful. Calls pretty self-explanatory. I can contact any of my contacts within Maynard here, or I can even hit any of my contacts that are in Outlook. And that's where James had mentioned that this could even be a replacement for an internal phone system if you really wanted to go that far with it. And then one of the important functions that James had mentioned was the files function. Now, all of the files that are uploaded here are files that are associated with any team that I have access to. And so you can see a lot of these teams they belong to different channels, and different teams within, or different channels within those teams. So it's very nice to have those all in one spot. You can use that as a document repository. It lets everybody in your team see what you're all looking at the same version, versus, as I mentioned earlier, having an email thread with 500 different variations of the same document. So it's very nice to have those all in one spot. Now, you don't always have to come down to files to see them all. Go into Teams and go within a team. It will you have a section here for files that are associated with that team. Now, in this case, this team does not have any in it. So let's actually walk through a real example of setting up a channel within a team, adding members. We're going to have a video chat. We're going to collaborate on a document, and we're going to see the full functionality of how teams can work for your organization. So within here, within the technology team, I have the ellipsis button in here, and I have a series of options that I can do. So I'm just going to add a new channel, and I'm going to call it Teams Webinar. Teams Webinar Discussion. And I have two options down here of how I want people to be able to access this channel. If I leave it standard, then everybody who is in the parent team would have access to this channel. But I don't necessarily want that. In this case, I want to make this channel private. And when I hit private, I get the ability to add specific people to this channel. So again, I'm going to add James, I'm going to add Ryan, and I'm going to add Justin Klein as well, our project manager. And so I've added those, and now we're done. And now you see I have a new channel over here. Now it's got the little lock symbol by it because it is a private channel versus a public channel for everybody in the technology team. So at this point, I can come into this channel, and I'm just going to have a general discussion. You can see here there's 4 people that are a member of this channel, and I can just type hello everyone, and everyone should be seeing it, and hopefully I will get some replies back here. And again, I'm just using the standard chat function, and as with any good modern texting or chatting function, I have all kinds of options down here. I can attach documents. I've got emojis in case we wanted to start putting emojis on there and just really kind of lighten everything up. I have various pictures and things that I can put on here. But one of the important things is the ability to just right from a chat say, hey, let's have a video discussion. All right, so I'm just going to ask, does everyone have time for a meeting? And assuming they do, then right from within the chat box, I can actually hit the little camera function down here, and I'm just going to hit Meet Now. And I am going to add a subject, Teams Webinar Discussion, and I'm going to meet now. Now everybody can see my beautiful face now. So this is my home office, just like James had. I don't have quite the decoration and everything that he has over there. So, and yeah, see here's James on the meeting. And James, are you? Can you hear everyone?
Yep, I can hear.
All right. Let's see if we get a few other people joining the meeting. Here's Ryan. Oh, Ryan, look at that. So here we are. Everybody's having a team meeting, and so it's really nice in the sense that we can all see each other. You're having a live discussion versus everybody just talking on a phone. It's just not quite as personal. The other ability that we have here is I can actually have a conversation within the chat, and that's just going to the people who are currently in the meeting. I can add additional participants if I wanted to. So let's say we were having this meeting. I'm going to go back to the show conversation here because we can all see that James is typing. So James is going to respond back. And we can not only have our meeting. There, you see, look at that. James reminds me to turn my mic off. So, all right. So then in addition to that, I can show the participants. I can add additional people if I wanted to add somebody to this call. Justin is getting on. So you see, we can have any number of people on this call. The president of Maynard, Jeff Stevens, we actually had a all-staff call with 120 some people on it. Now, you don't see all of their pictures. You really only see who's talking at the time, which is why I'm going to be showing up all the time. But the other thing that we're able to do is I can actually share my screen if I wanted to show anything. So I can pick which one of my screens I want to show. In this case, I'm just going to show my main screen, which is essentially going to be Teams. And I can do whatever I need to do here to show anybody anything. James or Ryan or Justin could come in and show their screen as well, and then actually give control of your screen to other people to do whatever you needed to do. So one of the functions, one of the things that James had mentioned too is if you don't want to show your background, if you don't have anything fancy, you know, kind of like I have back here, I do have the ability to just blur my background. You know, with James, it depends on whether you want to see all of his U of M stuff or not. But you know, I'm going to turn my background back on. There's not a lot there. But one of the nice things that we're able to do then, in addition to that, is I can go back to the Teams, and I'm going to go into our webinar discussion, and I'm going to upload a file. And I have a Teams tips document that I want to upload here, and I want everybody to kind of collaborate and give their input on it. So you can see now within my webinar discussion team, I do have a file here called Teams Tips. Now, if I go ahead and open that, and if I have, if James and Ryan are going to open that as well, and look at that. So we can all go through here and collaborate on this. And
Dave, I just caught a typo. I just caught a typo here. I just fixed it right there.
You find a typo? All right. So we're going to have, so I'll be able to see exactly where everybody is. And it tells me right there, real time, that James Meyer just updated, corrected a typo that we had. So you see, we're all sitting here working on the same document at the same time, which is actually, which is pretty powerful. And the thing is, everything that we're doing is saved automatically. It's not like I have to go in and hit save. If I went ahead and closed this document on my side, it's still here. If I open it again, all the changes are here. So everything is being stored. And it's actually, because it's fully integrated with Office 365, all of the documents that are here are actually being stored in SharePoint on the back end. So I have the option right in here of just opening it. I can copy a link to it. I can download it to my hard drive if I wanted to, or I can even open it in SharePoint, which opens up another browser and actually opens a SharePoint site that tells me that these are all of the documents that are associated with the webinar discussion. So even if I wasn't a member of the team, I would be able to then share out my SharePoint site to anybody else that I would need to use for collaboration on this. And I can put things into SharePoint as well and have them show up on the team. But one of the most powerful functions that we have been using at Maynard to really make sure that everybody is looking at the same version of the documents and being able to edit things real time. So with that, that's pretty much our overview. James, did you have anything else that you wanted to show here?
No, I don't think so, Dave. The only thing I wanted to mention is on the on those documents that you have sitting out there in Teams, you can download those to your desktop if you want, but you also can edit them within the original document. So if it's a Word doc like that, you can actually edit it in Word. So right now, what we've been doing is editing it within Teams, but you actually can edit it in Word also and still have that same capability.
Yeah, so if I open it in Word online, because it's all fully integrated, I have access to it right here in Word Online. And again, like James mentioned, I can see who's in the document and where they are and what they're doing. Very, very powerful feature. All right. So with that, that's about all that I have.
That's good. Hey, Ryan, do you want to talk about what Microsoft's doing with Office 365 and Teams?
There we go. You beat me to it. I was working on that as we were chatting. So just a couple of quick points on pricing. Obviously, that will come up as folks may have questions. It's important to understand that Teams comes with the enterprise versions of Office 365, which would be the E1, E3, and E5 editions. They also do include Teams in some of the small business editions as well, which would be they've got a couple of premium editions that come with it. If anyone has questions on pricing, they're more than welcome to either contact us directly or send an email to Joe or myself, and our email addresses are on the screen. Pricing is obviously going to be based on the number of users that you have in your group or that you want to fully license. And again, we would want to discuss that with you directly just to determine the business value to you of the different packages that are out there, which would determine price. Again, we don't want you to sign up for E5 or E3 if you don't need the additional features. If all you're looking for is a stripped down version of the cloud-based version of a Microsoft application in Teams, you probably could get away with the E1 version, which is a lower cost. And then also for nonprofits, 501c3s especially, Microsoft has what are considered donation pricing models. Most of the pricing models are very inexpensive and in some cases free. So it would be advantageous to reach out to myself or to Joe DeLuca, my counterpart, and we can discuss with you directly pricing, and that way you know exactly what you're looking at in your monthly or yearly cost and the features that come with each of the varying levels of Microsoft Office 365.
And you can also set them up on the 6-month trial copy, right, if needed?
That is correct, yeah. So Microsoft is offering a 6-month trial with Teams, which Dave and James both covered. This would be a great way to dip your toe in the water to determine whether or not for your team or even just for a video conferencing solution over something like Zoom, GoToMeeting, or one of the others that you may have to help consolidate, if Teams would be a good solution for you. I think we've demonstrated exactly the features that most teams would use in a collaboration space. You have obviously the video side as well as document sharing live so that people can get in and edit. You can chat back and forth. So kind of all of the features that you would need in order to do video conferencing, webinars in general. And again, because it's a Microsoft product that's already tied to your existing 365, if you have one, you're basically ready to go with everything you need. But again, there is a 6-month trial. We'd be happy to get you set up with that as well. If you decided after 6 months it wasn't your cup of tea, you can certainly stop using it. But I think, again, we've shown all of the features here pretty much prove that a team can use this from start to finish.
Okay.
All right, thanks, everybody.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thank you, everybody, and feel free to call us if there's anything we can help you with.